Have you ever felt like she's losing interest but can't figure out why? The truth is, attraction isn't just about how you look or what you say. It's about how you carry yourself, the energy you bring, and how you handle challenges. Women subconsciously pick up on specific behaviors that signal weakness, even if they don't realize they are doing them. Seeking constant approval, avoiding conflict, or hesitating to take the lead. These small habits might quietly erode her respect for you. But here's the good news. You can change that. In this video, we'll break down 7 common behaviors that make you look weak in her eyes, and, more importantly, how to fix them. This isn't about pretending to be someone you're not. It's about stepping into your confidence, setting boundaries, and becoming the kind of man who naturally commands respect. Let's get started. 1. Constantly seeking her approval. One of the men's biggest relationship mistakes is constantly seeking a woman's approval before making even the most minor decisions. While asking for input occasionally can show consideration, excessive dependence on her validation signals a lack of self-confidence, which can be deeply unattractive. Women are naturally drawn to men who are sure of themselves, can make their own choices without hesitation, and trust their judgment rather than constantly second-guessing themselves. Imagine a man sitting across from a woman at a restaurant, flipping through the menu, and then turning to her uncertainly, asking, "Do you think I should order steak or pasta?" At first glance, this may seem like an innocent question, but it reveals an underlying insecurity beneath the surface. A self-assured man would simply, when a man frequently defers to a woman's opinion on trivial matters, such as what he should wear, how he should respond to a text, or which activity they should do on a date, he unintentionally places the burden of leadership on her shoulders. Instead of making her feel secure in his ability to lead, he creates an atmosphere of uncertainty, which can slowly erode attraction over time. Attraction is built on polarity, and part of that polarity is the dynamic of leadership and decisiveness. Women want to be with a man who can make decisions, stand by them, and own his choices. This doesn't mean disregarding her feelings or bulldozing over her opinions, but it does mean carrying yourself with the quiet strength of someone who knows what he wants. When a man lacks confidence in his judgment, he inadvertently communicates to a woman that he is unsure of himself. And if he can't trust his own choices, why should she? The solution is to develop trust in your judgment. Start small. Pick a restaurant without asking for excessive input if you're going out. If you're shopping, choose what you want to wear based on what makes you feel good, rather than waiting for her to approve it. If you're making plans, suggest an activity with certainty instead of turning every decision into a question. When a woman sees you can lead without hesitation, she will naturally feel more secure in your presence. Confidence is not about being domineering or dismissive of her thoughts. It's about showing her that you are a man who knows himself, can navigate life with assurance, and doesn't need constant validation to feel secure. The more you embrace this mindset, the more attractive you will become. Not just in romantic relationships, but every aspect of your life. Women respect men who respect themselves. And one of the simplest ways to demonstrate that self-respect is by confidently making decisions. 2. Respect starts with boundaries. Why? Letting her walk all over you kills attraction. Many men mistakenly believe avoiding conflict and being agreeable will win a woman's affection. They assume that being endlessly accommodating makes them likable, but it does the opposite. Women are naturally drawn to men who assert themselves confidently, have a backbone, and won't tolerate disrespect. If you let her walk all over you, whether by ignoring clear signs of disregard or failing to set boundaries, you risk losing not just her attraction, but also her respect. Imagine you're on a date and she spends most of the time scrolling through her phone. Instead of addressing it, you pretend it doesn't bother you. You don't want to seem too demanding or risk confrontation, so keep quiet, hoping she'll eventually put the phone away and engage with you. But here's the truth. Ignoring her lack of respect sends a powerful message. Her behavior is acceptable, and once a woman realizes she can act however she pleases without any pushback, she will unconsciously lose respect for you. Attraction isn't built through excessive accommodation. It's built through presence, self-assurance, and the ability to command respect without aggression. Setting boundaries isn't about controlling or dominating, it's about knowing your worth. If you find yourself tolerating disrespect, whether it's her dismissive attitude, frequent cancellations, or failure to acknowledge your efforts, it's time to speak up. A man who values himself doesn't sit silently while being treated poorly. Instead, he confidently addresses the issue, a simple, direct approach. Hey, I'd rather spend time with someone engaged in the conversation. If you're too busy, we can do this another time. Immediately communicates that you have standards. It's not about creating conflict, but clarifying that you won't accept being treated as an afterthought. Women don't test boundaries because they're malicious. They do it instinctively to gauge a man's strength and self-respect. A man who allows himself to be a pushover will always be seen as weak, no matter how kind or generous he is. On the other hand, a man who enforces his boundaries with calm confidence will naturally inspire admiration. It's not about being aggressive or overly rigid, but about demonstrating that you respect yourself enough to demand the same from others. A woman will never say, "I lost interest in him because he was too agreeable," but she will feel it. Over time, her respect fades, her excitement diminishes, and she starts seeking someone who exudes strength and self-assurance. That's why the ability to set and enforce boundaries is crucial. It prevents you from being overly accommodating and ensures that any relationship you build is based on mutual respect. Ultimately, a man who commands respect will always be more attractive than someone who tries to buy it through submission. Women don't fall for men who tolerate anything. They fall for men who know their value and aren't afraid to walk away when it's not recognized. 3. The hidden cost of oversharing your insecurities. When building a romantic connection, honesty is essential. But there's a fine line between authenticity and burdening someone with personal struggles too soon. Oversharing your insecurities, especially in the early stages of a relationship, can create an unintended effect. Instead of drawing her closer, you risk shifting the dynamic into one where she feels obligated to provide emotional support rather than feeling a natural sense of attraction. Imagine this scenario. You're on a second date, and instead of keeping the conversation engaging and balanced, you find yourself venting about how much you hate your job, your deep fear of public speaking, or a recent failure that left you feeling defeated. While it may feel like opening up in this way fosters emotional intimacy, the reality is that it can undermine your presence as a confident and composed man. Women appreciate honesty, but are genuinely drawn to a man who handles his struggles with quiet strength, rather than seeking external reassurance. Attraction thrives on a sense of security and stability. When a man constantly shares his weaknesses without showing signs of self-assurance or resilience, it signals a lack of self-esteem. Instead of creating a dynamic where she sees you as strong and capable, you unintentionally position yourself as someone who needs to be saved or emotionally managed. This does not foster attraction. It creates an imbalance where she begins to feel like your emotional caretaker rather than a partner, intrigued by your presence. This doesn't mean you should hide your struggles or pretend to be invincible. The key is moderation and framing. Rather than unloading your insecurities in a way that seeks validation, focus on presenting them as challenges you are actively working to overcome. If you must mention a personal struggle, accompany it with a mindset of growth and self-improvement. For instance, instead of saying, "I'm terrible at public speaking and I panic every time I have to do it," reframe it as, "Public speaking has never come naturally to me, but I've been working on improving, and I recently pushed myself to present in front of a small group." This subtle shift changes the impression you leave. It no longer comes across as a cry for reassurance, but as evidence of resilience. Women respect and admire men who acknowledge their flaws, but don't allow those flaws to define them. They are drawn to men who can navigate their challenges with a level of self-reliance. This doesn't mean you should suppress your emotions or refuse to open up. It means understanding the right time and way to share. Deep vulnerabilities should be revealed gradually, as trust builds naturally within the relationship. By doing this, you cultivate a dynamic where she sees you as a man of depth and strength, someone she can connect with emotionally without feeling overwhelmed by your burdens. Confidence isn't about having no insecurities, it's about composure management. How you handle your struggles says more about you than the struggles themselves. Instead of viewing attraction as something that grows from excessive emotional disclosure, recognize that it flourishes when a man stands firm in who he is, acknowledges his challenges without being defined, and leads his life with quiet determination. That's the presence that creates genuine, lasting attraction. 4. The pitfall of trying too hard. Authenticity over exaggeration. One of the most common mistakes men make when trying to attract a woman is putting too much effort into impressing her. This often manifests as bragging, exaggerating achievements, or over-explaining accomplishments to appear more desirable. While the intention may be to showcase value, the reality is that this behavior signals insecurity rather than confidence. A man who constantly talks about his past successes, boasts about his connections, or subtly inflates his role in an important project is not showcasing strength. He's revealing a need for external validation. Women are highly perceptive and can quickly detect inconsistencies. If a story seems too polished or an achievement feels overstated, she may start questioning the authenticity of everything else he says. Trust erodes the moment she senses that he is not entirely genuine, and once that doubt creeps in, attraction fades. Instead of relying on words to prove value, a man should let his actions and presence speak for themselves. Confidence doesn't come from telling people how successful or meaningful you are. It comes from knowing your worth and not feeling the need to remind others constantly. A man who carries himself with quiet assurance, doesn't seek approval, and remains comfortable in his skin, naturally draws people toward him. Consider a scenario where two men walk into a room. One immediately starts discussing his recent promotion, the exclusive places he's traveled to, and the influential people he's met. The other remains composed, engaging in conversation without needing to highlight his status. Over time, the second man becomes more intriguing, not because he has less to offer, but because his confidence is self-contained. Women are drawn to men who exude a sense of certainty without having to sell themselves. This doesn't mean that achievements should be hidden or downplayed. Sharing accomplishments naturally within the flow of conversation is entirely different from forcing them into discussions to prove worth. People naturally notice when a man simply exists as his best self, living out his values and passions without seeking validation. A woman will admire and respect a man who demonstrates competence through his actions, rather than empty words. True confidence is built on internal security, not external approval. When a man stops trying too hard to impress, he becomes infinitely more attractive. When he allows his success to be seen rather than spoken, listens as much as he says, and trusts that who he is will be enough, he embodies the kind of presence that naturally captivates. 5. Emotional control, the key to handling disagreements maturely. In relationships, conflicts are inevitable, but how you handle them can make all the difference. One of the most common mistakes men make during disagreements is allowing emotions to take over. Whether losing your temper, becoming defensive, or breaking down emotionally, these reactions can lead to more harm than resolution. In these moments, emotional stability becomes a defining characteristic, either strengthening or weakening the bond you share. Imagine this scenario. A simple discussion about where to eat escalates into a heated argument. You feel frustrated because you think she's ignoring your preferences, and suddenly the conversation turns dramatic. What started as a minor disagreement spirals into an emotional breakdown, leaving both of you feeling worse off than before. This is a clear sign of emotional instability. It's often perceived as a weakness when you lose control in such situations. Women value emotional maturity in a partner. In their eyes, staying calm, thinking clearly, and approaching disagreements with patience and logic demonstrates strength. A man who can manage his emotions even in the most frustrating moments shows resilience and self-discipline, far more attractive than impulsive reactions. Emotional control is a sign of inner strength, and when a man shows this ability, it builds trust and admiration. Losing your cool, especially over something trivial, makes it difficult for her to feel safe and understood in the relationship. Instead of fostering a healthy discussion, emotional outbursts can cause her to pull back or become defensive. This undermines any chance of resolution and makes it harder to reconnect emotionally. The key to avoiding these situations lies in self-awareness and emotional regulation. The next time a disagreement arises, take a deep breath and pause before reacting. Approach it logically and patiently instead of deepening the conversation with heightened emotions. Recognize the difference between the situation at hand and the emotional response it triggers. Practicing self-betrayal during conflict strengthens the relationship and fosters respect and trust. By managing your emotions during disagreements, you create an environment of calm and rationality, even in the face of tension. This approach doesn't mean suppressing your feelings or avoiding the issue. It means responding with maturity and thoughtfulness. As you develop this ability, you'll find that conflicts become opportunities to deepen the relationship rather than moments that drive a wedge between you. 6. The power of taking charge, confidence and leadership in relationships. In any relationship, there's a powerful dynamic at play when one person takes charge. Women in particular appreciate men who can lead and make decisions, not because they want to dominate, but because it signifies confidence and emotional maturity. A man who consistently defers decisions to his partner or constantly asks, "What do you want to do?" instead of confidently taking the reins, may inadvertently communicate a sense of indecisiveness and weakness. When it comes to planning, whether it's a date or a simple outing, women don't want to be in the driver's seat all the time. They want to feel that their partner is engaged and present, taking initiative. A man who can't decide what restaurant to go to or asks for her opinion on every small detail might come across as lacking direction or vision. This can create a subtle yet significant imbalance in the relationship. Women find attraction in men who display assertiveness and the ability to easily navigate decisions, especially in the early stages of dating. When you constantly put the burden on her, it can create frustration, as it often feels like you're not actively engaging in the growth of the relationship. The impact of never taking the lead isn't just about small decisions, it's about your ability to steer the course of the relationship. Women desire a partner who can take control of situations, especially when uncertain. This doesn't mean being overbearing or dismissing her preferences. It's about balancing leadership and compromise. A decisive man can make plans with consideration for her, but still shows clarity and direction in his actions. By confidently suggesting ideas, planning dates, or making decisions that are well thought out, you show her that you are reliable and capable. Taking the initiative doesn't mean making all the decisions, but showing that you are willing to take responsibility for the experience you both share. A man who shows leadership fosters a sense of security and trust, which is incredibly attractive. The solution is simple but powerful. Take charge. Don't wait for her to make every call. Take the lead in planning, but always consider her needs and desires. Whether it's suggesting a new place to eat, planning a weekend getaway, or even choosing a movie to watch, show confidence in your decisions. This doesn't mean being inflexible or dismissive of her opinion, but it does mean having the courage to make a choice and move forward. Stewardship. Doing this builds attraction and demonstrates that you can lead and create experiences that quality women deeply value in a partner. 7. Overcoming fear. How taking action enhances attraction. Fear can be a powerful force that stops you in your tracks, makes you hesitate, and convinces you to hold back when it matters most. Whether it's the fear of rejection, failure, or the unknown, it keeps you from seizing opportunities. In relationships, this hesitation can manifest in many ways: avoiding difficult conversations, not asking a woman out, or hesitating to take the next step with someone you're interested in. In professional life, it can show up as reluctance to ask for a promotion or take on a new challenge. What fear does is limit growth. When you stay in your comfort zone, you also close off the chance to experience real change, connection, and advancement. Women are drawn to men willing to take risks and show ambition and the courage to face challenges head-on. A man who avoids stepping up when it counts, waits for the perfect moment to act, or constantly second-guesses himself, may seem unreliable in situations that demand quick thinking or action. The impact of fear-based decision-making is far-reaching. When you hold back because of fear, you send the message that you're not confident in your own decisions, and this lack of confidence can be off-putting. In romantic relationships, women value a partner willing to be vulnerable and take risks, and who doesn't shy away from tough conversations or make excuses for not moving the relationship forward. Women are often more attracted to men who take calculated risks, as this trait shows strength, character, and willingness to invest in the relationship. The key to overcoming fear is to develop a mindset of growth. Instead of focusing on what could go wrong, focus on the opportunities unfolding. This mindset allows you to take action without being paralyzed by what-ifs. Each step, even the small ones, leads to progress and builds confidence. It's not about being fearless, it's about acknowledging fear and pushing forward despite it. Taking risks doesn't mean acting recklessly or ignoring potential consequences. It means being thoughtful in your actions, weighing your options, and deciding that your personal and professional growth is worth the leap. It's about taking action in uncertainty and learning from successes and failures. When you face challenges with courage and determination, you grow and become someone others want to follow, someone who can be relied on in difficult situations. In the end, how you approach fear shapes how others see you. Women want to be with someone who is not afraid to take the lead, embraces growth, and is always looking to push himself forward. Fear may be a natural response to life's challenges, but letting it control you only holds you back. So take the risks, face your fears, and embrace the journey of growth. Because this courage builds true attraction. Attraction isn't just about surface-level qualities like appearance or charm. It's about something deeper, something unspoken. It's in how you carry yourself, the energy you project, and how you navigate the inevitable challenges in relationships. Suppose you've ever felt like a woman is losing interest, but couldn't quite understand why. It may not be about what you said or did in a single moment. More often it's a pattern of subtle behaviors that over time chip away at the respect and attraction she once felt for you. Women are incredibly perceptive when sensing underlying confidence or lacking it. Even if you don't realize it, certain habits can signal weakness in ways that turn her off without her being fully conscious. Seeking constant validation, avoiding conflict to keep the peace, hesitating to take charge when the moment calls for it. These behaviors may seem harmless. Still, they create a quiet but powerful erosion of respect. When a woman no longer sees you as someone who stands firm in his sense of self, the connection starts to fade, and eventually so does her attraction. The good news is that none of this is set in stone. Attraction isn't something you either have or don't have. You cultivate it by shifting your appearance. This isn't about playing games or pretending to be someone you're not. It's about stepping fully into your confidence, establishing boundaries, communicating self-respect, and embracing the presence that naturally commands admiration. Women aren't drawn to perfection, but to men who exude a quiet, unshakable sense of self-assurance. What has been your experience with this? Have you ever found yourself in a situation where a woman's interest started to wane? And if so, what do you think contributed to it? I'd love to hear your thoughts, so drop a comment below. And if you found this video insightful, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. There's so much more to explore when it comes to attraction, relationships, and becoming the best version of yourself.